Myth number 8. Criminalization protects vulnerable people. This myth frames laws against sex work as protective shields for vulnerable populations. It suggests that arrests, raids, and crackdowns are acts of compassion, that by criminalizing sex work, the state is keeping people safe from exploitation. On the surface, this framing feels persuasive because it appeals to both morality and fear. Who wouldn't want to protect women, children, and marginalized people from harm? But in practice, the exact opposite is true. Criminalization is wielded most harshly against the very communities it claims to safeguard, leaving sex workers, survivors, and children more vulnerable, not less. Instead of functioning as a shield, these laws become weapons that drive people deeper into poverty, instability, and danger. Where this myth comes from, the idea that criminalization equals protection has roots in over a century of moral panic and state control. Beginning with the white slavery campaigns of the early 1900s, reformers used fear of sexual exploitation to justify harsh laws targeting immigrants, poor women, and communities of color. By criminalizing sex work, authorities claimed they were rescuing women, when in reality they were expanding police power and reinforcing racial and gender hierarchies. This framing has endured through the decades, recycled in modern anti-trafficking campaigns, zoning ordinances, and end-demand policies. It persists because it offers politicians and law enforcement a convenient narrative: punishment dressed up as care, criminalization repackaged as rescue. Why this myth persists? The language of protection is politically powerful. It allows lawmakers to cast punitive policies as benevolent, reassuring the public that police crackdowns are done for people's own good. Carceral feminists often invoke this same language to justify raids and rescue operations, making state control appear feminist rather than punitive. This narrative sticks because it's simple and emotionally charged. It erases nuance and sells the illusion that safety can be achieved through handcuffs. What the facts actually say: in reality, criminalization doesn't protect, it punishes. Black, Indigenous, migrant, and trans sex workers are disproportionately targeted for arrest, and criminal records become lifelong barriers to housing, employment, and health care. Survivors of trafficking are frequently arrested for the very acts they were coerced into, further traumatized and saddled with criminal histories that keep them trapped in cycles of poverty. Evidence from decriminalized settings such as New Zealand demonstrates the opposite outcome. When sex work is not criminalized, vulnerable populations are better able to access health services, report violence, and build safety within their communities. How the confusion causes harm. By equating criminalization with protection, lawmakers obscure the real damage it causes. Laws are weaponized against marginalized communities already burdened by racism, xenophobia, and transphobia. Trafficking survivors are treated as criminals rather than victims, and entire communities are destabilized as cycles of poverty and incarceration compound one another. What is sold as protection in rhetoric becomes systemic violence in reality. What needs to change? If the goal is true protection, the path forward is clear. Decriminalize sex work and expunge related records. Redirect funding from policing to harm reduction, housing, and survivor-led support systems. Build policies that prioritize equity and justice over punishment and stigma. Safety doesn't come from surveillance or raids. It comes from ensuring that people have resources, rights, and real choices. Learn more about how criminalization impacts marginalized communities at www.swapbehindbars.org.